to help us create some rules. I think our losses, can help us study and say, hey, this is what I don't want to do again. This is what I don't want to do in the future. The thing about trading, it's a very tough profession. I think the stats are something like 90 to 95% of traders fail. And why do they fail? They don't fail because of a lack of winning setups or lack of wins. They fail because of their losses. They fail because they just take too many losses too frequently, or just that one big loss. I mean, that's the thing in the market. One loss can wipe you out and end your career. That's where a good set of rules can either make you or break you for the long haul. Now, trading can be a difficult profession. For that, we sit in front of our computers all day long, and we feel unproductive if we're not always in a trade or pushing buttons. We follow traders on Twitter who tweet a new idea or ticker every 35 seconds, and we say, hey, that guy trades 80 to 90 tickers a day. I need to do the same thing. No, I think that's BS. I think you should not do the same thing. I think you need to stick with your high probability setups, the setups you're going to be profitable on, I'd say at least 75, 80, hopefully 90% of the time. Now, sometimes it can be hard to sit on your hands and be patient and wait for those setups, but why chase subpar setups? Why chase boredom trades? Why put good money after bad? Now, how many of us here of traders have followed a chat room, a Twitter, or a friend into an idea that we knew was not a high probability setup for our own trading style? Now, we all have different trading styles here. What works for you may not work for me. Personally, I'm a terrible long bias trader. If and when I ever do go long, I take profits extremely fast, knowing that a lot of times profits can just get away from me pretty quick. I don't have the patience nor the conviction, to hold them. That's why month after month, year after year, I personally get more strict about the trades that I place. I probably place half the amount of trades I did maybe just 5 years ago, but I make way more money. Why? Because I trade the high probability setups that I know I'm going to be profitable 80 to 90% of the time. I like to use size with those trades, and I have very strict rules when it comes to cutting losses. Now, I'm sure most of us as traders have rules, or at least we should. How many of us use stops? I mean, stops are a must. I mean, we all have to use stops. Now, I personally rarely use hard stops, but I have mental stops on every position that I take. Basically, if something's breaking support or resistance, I usually just exit that trade. And I think most of us here need to have a mental idea in our head of where we're going to exit a trade based on where it goes against us. How many of us here have ever been in a losing trade and we're down something small, maybe $5,000, and we think, I'm not going to cut it. I feel like this is going to be a winner, and we add to that trade. An hour later, we're down $20,000 to $30,000, and we think, wow, it's hard to, I can't cut it now. We hold it till the afternoon. Maybe tomorrow it gaps up, we're down $70,000, $80,000, $100,000, and we think, what the heck just happened? I could have cut that loss yesterday for $3, $4, $5 grand. Now I've given up 10, maybe 20% of my year just by being stubborn. Think about how much more money we could make at the end of the year if we just stick to some simple rules and cut our losses at an appropriate place. Now, for me personally, I very rarely enter a trade, unless it's with starter size, something really small, unless I know I'm going to be in the money immediately. I ask the question, why would you ever enter a trade knowing it's going to go against you, and you say, well, I'll just add higher? Why would you ever want to do that? I personally like to be right on my first entry, and if I'm not, I cut it, and I look for a re-entry. The last thing I want to do, again, is be stubborn, refuse to cut a loss, add to losers, and before you know it, you've given up 10, 20, maybe 30% of your year on any particular setup. I see so many traders that can consistently make money month after month after month, only at the end of the year realize they were stubborn on 3 to 4 tickers, and they gave up, maybe 20 to 30% of the year. Now, let's talk about being stubborn for a minute. Why is it that we refuse to cut losses? Is it that sometimes we refuse to be wrong? Or has the research we've done on any particular stock made us so overly biased that we think the market is wrong and we are right? Or did we possibly take on too much size overnight on a low float stock that's opened dramatically against us? There's numerous reasons we take losses in the market, and a majority of them are our fault. We can say, well, Dries was manipulated when it went from 5 to 115. Or, KBIO was a fluke when Shkreli bought it and went from 2 to, 40s within a couple days. And those are true. Dries was manipulated, but at the end of the day, nobody forced us to hold Dries. you know, from 40 to 60 to 80 to 100. Nobody forced us